Welcome to Coffee with Bridget, and today's coffee is Java Factory S'mores, chocolate graham cracker, and marshmallow, and it is yummy. I'm enjoying it. Using my repaired fish scale mug. That was one of the reasons why the other ones went into the china cabinet, is because this one broke and I was devastated. I'm so sentimental, it's silly. But yeah, so last week was a week. It was really tough. I'm filming this on Sunday. I'm breathing again. I was holding my breath all week last week for the court session. Court went well. It was more a formality because we had agreed to a stipulation. And in the stipulation, certain things were covered. I'm still primary custody with the daughters, which was a big win on my part, until custody mediation. And we'll see what custody mediation brings. Hopefully everybody comes to the table intending for a solution and not for, fighting. But that will be determined later, I'll have to see what happens with mediation. And usually the court goes with whatever the mediator recommends. So whether the mediation gets resolved in the actual meeting or if it goes to court later, usually the judge follows the mediator's recommendation. So we shall see what that recommendation is. But then everything depends on that for the next proceeding things like, child support and alimony. So it'll be interesting to see what the mediator decides and what the agreement comes to. But I had fun this weekend. I went out with a friend and we went to the movies and we saw a movie called The Backrooms. And it was very interesting. So my friend described it as a psychological thriller. So I went into it kind of like, And it's interesting because there is psychology involved. Like there's this therapist who talks about an open window. And at one point, one of the protagonists, it's interesting because it starts with what you think is one protagonist, which is this guy, and then it switches to the therapist as the protagonist. But it's interesting. Like at one point, I don't want to give it away. At one point, there's a commentary on therapy and the therapist, and I'm just like, I wonder why they included that, Very interesting. But I do recommend going and seeing it. It was an experience. I don't think I'll watch it again. My friend went for the second time. He'd gone by himself the first time, and he was like, I really want to show you this movie so we can talk about it. And then we didn't really talk about it. But it was good. It's one of those movies that will sit with you, and you just stay in your mind, and you're just like, it's a very interesting experience. I told him when we came out of the movie, I said, it reminds me of Not Scary Farm maze. Because you go through Not Scary Farm, the mazes, and there's all this interesting imagery. And there's not much of an explanation. I mean, there's usually a theme behind the maze. And there's a little bit of a story that's suggested in the pamphlet describing the maze. But the imagery itself is often disturbing and random and weird. And that's what this movie reminded me of, is like this random, strange imagery that stays with you, but doesn't make much sense. It's visually appealing, but it's like, what was the purpose of that? It didn't tie everything together. And I think that was the interesting thing, is the movie didn't really come to a solution. It didn't really tie everything together. It kind of gave hints of what the purpose of it was. And if they do a sequel, I definitely would not watch the sequel because I think it would be watered down too much. I think the exploration of it during the course of the first movie was enough, and it was subtle enough. If they became too overt, I think it would be disappointing. But yeah, it was fun to go to the movies. I hadn't gone to the movies in so long. It had been a long, long time since I'd gone to the movies. I don't even remember what I'd seen last. And then I came home and things had sold. I sold my Lazy Boy recliner, which needed to go. I've had that thing for a while, but I mean, I have 2 other recliners. So I'm going to have 2 recliners, a love seat, and an ottoman. So I think that's plenty for a living room when it comes to seating, especially for the 3 of us. It's just going to be me and the girls. So that was a big deal. It's interesting when things decide to go. Like, I didn't touch that listing for a while. I had no interest in it. And all of a sudden, just out of the blue, someone's like, mine. And I'm like, okay. And it was an older woman. She came with her son, and they both sat in the recliner and were like, we're getting this one. And I'm like, okay, you can have it, you know. So that was good that moved. Waiting on other big things to move, like the desk and the TV cabinet. If those don't sell, I'm okay with it. I'm hoping the bed, and if I keep the desk, I definitely need to go down to like a twin size bed to fit everything in my room. So that's going to be interesting. You know, it'll be interesting just fitting everything in the apartment. But yeah, my mom's like, well, maybe you're not going to sell the desk. And I'm like, maybe not. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of interest in it at the moment. There were 2 or 3 good inquiries, but one person was like, oh, it's too big for my space. And I'm like, yeah, it's a big desk. It's definitely a big desk. So yeah, things continue to sell. Sold some big stuff. I think that it's starting to hit my account now, the stuff that I've sold. So I've got a little nest egg going, which is good, because I'm going to need that when I move for down payment on an apartment, because usually they require the first and the last month, and they probably will inquire some sort of pet deposit. So definitely saving up the money to be able to move into an apartment when I can. That's the plan. That's the intention. But still so many things in the air, undetermined things. Unfortunately, the cold calling job didn't work because the CPTSD just reared its head, and just, I was laid out for a week just recovering it. And then afterwards I had the court thing, so my nerves and my system are just like and yeah, so that's been a big thing. I've been sleeping a lot more, and just letting my nervous system calm down, I guess, because I get so wired and so into things and so focused, and then things just go, and then I have a collapse. So the last 2 weeks was more of a collapse than anything else of my nervous system. And I don't think that it was too terribly noticeable, other than I didn't do coffee with Bridget. My day by day thing with the kids, was normal, kept on top of cells, kept things going, so, not terribly noticeable, but I knew it because I just had no energy to get up and do things. I didn't have the energy to commit to things. And, and then last week I missed book club because the kids wanted to go for a walk. This week I'm going to be missing book club because a friend and I are going to go to the car wash together. I really need to wash my car, and he wanted to come out to visit. So I was like, okay, let's go to the car wash. So, yeah, and his timing, he's going to arrive around 1. So that's just how it's going to be. And then I have to pick the kids up at 4 or 6. And 4 is Friday when I drop them off. I pick them up at 6. So that's some time there. But it's going to be a busy day. I've been busy making videos this morning before my friend comes to visit. So that's been my focus. I'm going to do some tarot videos, see what the week is going to be like, and my oracle card reading. I like to get them all done kind of early and all together when I can on my weekends off. It just takes the pressure off during the week. But this video is coming to an end. I hope you enjoyed Coffee with Bridget. I know this one wasn't, it's kind of all over the place, but mostly about Backrooms, which, like I said, it was a big thing for me to go to the movies. I hadn't been in a long time. And it was really nice to get out and do that. I'm glad my friend talked me into it going. So I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. I hope you take care, and that we all have a wonderful week, because good things are happening, and under the scenes, I'm convinced good things are happening. So take care, and bye for now.